Hey everybody, my name is Aaron Bach. I am the host of Journals Out Loud, where we're answering the questions that you send in to us about life, about all sorts of stuff. Today, we're talking about different beliefs within families and how you deal with that. On the couch today, introducing some new people, let's go around and introduce ourselves.
Starting with me, I'm Angel Keenan, and I'm happy to be here.
My name is Autumn McKinney Brooks, and my favorite color is purple.
My name is Carla Matuk, and I feel like we're like in middle school, when we go around and we say each other's names, like, I'm cool, Carla, with like the same letters. Your name.
I like that.
Hi, my name is Nick, and I'm currently wearing a shirt that almost resembles a tablecloth.
Wow, that's impeccably accurate.
I was like,
Good plaid.
yeah, agreed.
I like plaid. though,
It's
so.
not that bad.
It works with the beard. Yeah. So let's just jump straight on into it with the first question. My mom raised me to be religious and maybe go to church every day, but I'm just not really interested in religion. I do believe in God, but there are some things in the Bible I disagree with. I want to tell my mom I don't want to go to church anymore, but I'm worried I'll hurt her feelings. So, first off, do you have any advice for this person, and is this something that you've experienced yourself in your own life?
I mean, I feel like in terms of beliefs,
Mm-hmm.
I've always been raised with this idea of like what's true for you is what's true for you.
Mhm.
And that's what you've observed yourself. That's what you've experienced yourself. And I remember growing up, I'd learn a lot about many different religions. And the whole concept was I can learn, see what works for me, see what I can actually apply,
Mm-hmm.
and then choose on my own,
I was lucky that I grew up in a family where none of us were religious, but like my mom was like, if you want to try it, do it. But we also grew up right next door to a family that like went to church every day. And I think with this kind of topic, it's really important to know, like, it's very good that you know where you stand. And I think the thing is like, obviously your mom may be really disappointed that you don't believe as fully as she does. But I think at the end of the day, she'll respect you for really knowing who you are. I think the way to go about this is breaking it to your mom in a way that's not disrespectful towards her religion and being as respectful as you can, while also letting her know that like that's not your thing. Because I know a lot of people who are devout Christians and they don't like going to church just because that's simply not how they practice. And it's not like you're abandoning religion completely, but you still believe in the same thing. It's just you don't want to practice it like other people practice it, which is fine.
Well, lucky for you too, you grew up that way. But I grew up on a very Catholic family. Like my mom is very religious, and coming out before as trans, it's something that they wouldn't accept. So it's really hard. I think it will depend on, are you like living on your own already, or are you still in living at home? So in my case, before, when my mom was like, if you're gonna be like that, why don't we part ways? Then of course I couldn't, I
Yeah.
couldn't be homeless at that
Yeah.
point. I still believe in God. I still have, but not maybe as strict anymore. I believe now that I have my own relationship with God. So whatever it is that I've learned coming to church before, it was still good because it's still like a skill that kind of I can run into on those times that I'm low. So I think it really depends if you're still living at home or if you're already on your own, in terms of telling your mom already, because I don't want to be kicked out
Yeah.
if I don't have a place to stay.
Yeah. And I think that was a good
So-
point, that
Yeah.
you can also do it without insulting their version of what they
Mhm.
or what they see in the religion.
Mm-hmm.
You can kind of interpret it and pick and choose what parts you believe in personally, and that's the beauty of it, is you can decide what you believe, even if it's not exactly the same interpretation. Because even most people that I know, at least, that Christianity, different religions, they don't all exactly have the exact same print and copy version of each other.
Exactly. Yeah.
They all have little things that maybe like, oh, they don't maybe believe this little piece, but everything else is about the same.
Mm-hmm.
And again, like, yeah, breaking it to your mom. I mean, I know, again, like several of us are very lucky. We were, trusted or just told, believe what you want to believe, and whatever works for you and makes you happy, that's you.
Yeah.
But when you're that young, I could see how that could be rough. But again, I think just open the conversation, but in a way that's not saying, I think your way is dumb or inaccurate. It just doesn't work for me, I think, is the way you want to approach it.
Yeah, there's, the golden rule of dealing with other people. I'm always like, okay, how like be able to experience anything in terms of something being said to you and only say things to others that you think they can experience.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah, I like
always
that.
that kind of give and take on both sides, because it's cool. I mean, with family, you do want to share your views and you do want to have that relationship where you can sit and you can talk and you can do things together in that veins or otherwise. And I feel like there's always, sometimes it's a lot harder
Yeah.
than other
Yeah.
times. But I feel like if this is something that you have a good relationship with your parent and you want to discuss with them, go ahead.
And
We
you don't
kinda
have
grow
to.
from
You don't have
it.
to do it like cold turkey. Like you
Yeah.
don't have to be like,
Hi,
I'm not going
we
to
are
church
now
anymore. Bye.
sitting. We are now
Surprise.
sitting and talking about this.
Like
Yeah.
you
Have a
could
seat.
definitely, yeah,
I'm
you could
not-
definitely, yeah. I'm
Yeah,
not
and
going
I
to church.
still
Bye.
enjoy. I still
I-
enjoy going to like on the holidays, you know,
Yeah.
because we go as a family. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
even though I don't go to Catholic church anymore, like every Sunday, I still enjoy that. So I think, you know, just be open also on like other people's beliefs, and hopefully they
Mm.
can be open to your beliefs as well.
Hopefully, but Angel, I think that you kind of are leading us into our next question. You had a kind of a clash with your mom about this, right? About
Yes.
your life and how she couldn't accept parts of you and how that caused a big rift. So I think this question is kind of going in a similar direction. I'm constantly feeling resentful of my dad because he's constantly saying things that clash with my beliefs. For example, he voted against marriage equality in Australia, and it makes me so angry. How can he be so hateful that he can't allow all people to have the same rights to marry? I know he grew up in a different time, but that upsets me more because it means hatred has always been socially accepted. So I guess kind of like there's a lot of things going on in that question, but it boils down to this person's trying to reconcile their relationship with their father with everything that they believe, right?
Mhm.
It's in stark contrast. So how do you bridge that gap? Do you bridge that gap? Have you experienced with this?
This is a funny question because I have this exact problem, except my dad isn't in Australia. So my dad, my parents got divorced when I was like, in like third grade. And they've been divorced and I live with my mom. But my dad and I have never really had a good relationship just because every time I try to reconcile things, he just like burns his own bridges. And I've tried to really like see eye to eye and see where he comes from and why he believes certain things. My dad, just so everyone knows, is like a white Republican man who is from the South. We are from Bama. And I was like, I told my mom in like high school, I was like, Mom, I'm going to be a Wiccan. And she's like, that's great. Do what you want. And I was like, solid. I'm going to go like do my tarot cards now.
Oh boy.
And yeah, I know. It's cool. Like I'm practicing, you know? And but my dad is not about that. And I've really tried to reconcile with him because he has the same beliefs. And I think there's only so much you can do. Like it's definitely a meet in the middle type thing. Like if your dad can't understand why you feel the same way, why you feel a certain way about things, and you're really trying hard to really put yourself in his shoes, there's only so much you can do to try and reconcile it. And like at some point you've got to be like, look, Dad, I'm really like trying to understand you here, but you kind of have to give and get a little.
It's
you know?
like the subject of religion. I feel like religion and politics.
Yeah.
It always comes down to those two. We've made it as a society, as a civilization, such a big deal in a way that it's this thing to fight over. And it's really interesting
Yes.
because I'm ethnically Lebanese
Mm-hmm.
from the Middle East, and I lived there for a long time.
Mhm.
And my parents had both grown up in different parts of Lebanon during the period of the war. And they tell all of these crazy stories that I can even only imagine. And my dad tells a story about when he was 21 and got kidnapped. And it was because he was he had a different religion, different religious belief than other people in the area. And that was such a heated period.
Mm-hmm.
And he tells the story very well, but he actually got himself out of the situation with communication because there's always human compassion. There really is, and there's always a lot of similarities that you can pull and you can just communicate. And he thankfully got himself out of that situation. But even he tells the story how growing up, he didn't really know what religion he was. He'd go to church, but he was like, oh, doesn't everyone do everything?
Yep.
Don't we all celebrate all holidays? And he'd wear a necklace that had the Bible on it that had also like a crescent that had a little emblem for different religions, and he just never made that big of a difference that him and his neighbor, his best friend, or whoever it may be, had a completely different belief than him. And we've let this divide us for so long when it's not. I mean, we have more in common than we have.
Yeah, there's a term that I feel is
differences.
missing. I mean, in this situation too, maybe, but overall in all of society, all over the world, it's a great term called agree to disagree to a certain point.
That's the
It seems like a lot of people
lesson
forget
of the
that
day.
you don't have to. There's a reason. At least I know, growing up, a big thing you're always told is you're allowed to be different. That is one of the biggest things I feel like most parents teach their kids. You're allowed to be different. You don't have to be like everybody else. You don't have to keep up with everybody else, and you can have your own opinion. But then nowadays, it seems a certain age range, it may be just an age range, maybe it's just everybody's kind of spread to. Everybody feels like they have to convince somebody else to be exactly like them. It may be uncomfortable, but people have to learn to live with that. They kind of can't always have it their way and have everybody believe the same thing they're believing. So again, with this case, I mean, with your dad, I mean, you can't exactly expect to persuade him to have your exact beliefs. Just like he can't persuade you to have his. You kind of just have to
There's like
agree-
a reason
yeah.
you guys don't see eye to eye.
exactly on that,
Mhm.
at least on that one subject, you might just have to say, we could agree to disagree. I mean, and just move on from that. Have plenty of other things that y'all can connect over and believe in the same, but it doesn't have to be something that I don't think that should break your relationship at all. But again, it has to come from both sides to both have that mutual respect for each other to just have your own beliefs.
I like that, right? Because, communication is where it starts, I think, and ends kind of on this level. You need to be open to communication about this topic, but so does whoever's in your family that you're talking
Absolutely.
to, right? And that's not always the case. Unfortunately, we'd like it to be, but like sometimes it is just more important to them than their relationship with you. Like that does happen sometimes, and when that does happen, you sometimes don't have that many options, which I kind of hate to sort of lead this down kind of a downer route, but it totally does happen to people, and I'm sorry if that is your situation. But that being said, even then, right, there's an ultimatum that appears in situations like that where it becomes clear between the two of you that it's either this one thing we can't agree on or it's our entire relationship, right? And if you put it in those terms, if you make it clear that it's this or that, not because you want it that way, because they're making it that way, that can oftentimes spark the kind of agree to disagree situation that you need. So I hope it doesn't come to that, but if it does, just remember that is kind of the ace in the hole, and that's uncomfortable to say, and I don't like that I have to say it, but just keep that in mind. I will also say, just as a reminder to everybody, if you feel uncomfortable or that you might be in danger if you talk about how your beliefs are different than your family's beliefs, that is something probably to keep as a part of yourself that you don't share with them until maybe you're out of the house.
Yeah.
Because, as important as it is to be honest about who you are and what you want to do with your life, it's more important until you're grown up to be safe, to be healthy and safe as you can be. And sometimes that means not sharing all the parts of you that you'd like to share at the time. And that is the thing that I want you to take away the most, is that despite all this, despite all the hope and sometimes strife, stay safe, because there's always someone eventually who will accept you and who will be on the same level and who will want to communicate and talk. So stay safe, and those people will be waiting for you, and we are waiting for you. Let us know in the comments if you have had similar situations, if you disagree with your parents about religion. We are happy to chat with you there in the comments, and we will see you next week on Journals.